White Sox stretching it out here on a cool night, and when we do start, Luke Hochaver will be taking on Jake Peavy. Tough matchup facing Peavy, who was so good against the Royals a week and a half ago. And for more on that and seeing Peavy again, let's head downstairs to Nate Bukaty. Nate?
Well, Joel, I had a chance to talk to the Royals hitting coach Kevin Seitzer earlier today, and he said that in addition to the wide assortment of pitches and the outstanding command that you see from Jake Peavy, it's really the competitiveness and the fire that stands out when you watch this guy pitch. And Kevin told me that a major game plan component for the Royals today is to make sure they don't allow that animation and fiery competitiveness of Jake Peavy get the Royals on their heels. He screams a lot on the mound. He yells. He tries to take the fight to you. Kevin Seitzer wants the Royals to be aggressive back and take the fight to Jake Peavy tonight. One other thing, Joel, now that I'm standing outside in the weather, I have to say that Ryan Lefevre is absolutely correct. It's not raining nearly as hard as it looks on TV.
That's because it's not raining right now, right? I don't see any
sure.
rain.
Sure it's not.
It's not raining right now.
Yeah, not at all.
How's it feel down there?
Like I said, it's it looks like it might be, but it's bone dry out here.
Perfect. Enjoy yourself, Nate, and we will enjoy the nice, dry booth up here. Split, Frank, I want to ask you about Jake Peavy because every personality is different, and we talk about it all the time. Too amped up, not amped enough, this kind of personality, that kind of personality. It seems like, and I certainly saw, Ned Yost talked about this before, I saw Jake Peavy a lot in the National League. If he has that fire, he's usually going pretty well, whether he's yelling at himself or someone else.
Well, he's intimidating. I mean, he loves to be aggressive and get after the opponent. And when you run into somebody like that, you have to match their aggressiveness. I think when we played, Frank, Kirk Gibson would come to mind, Reggie Jackson would come to mind. If they could run you off, they would, but you can't allow it to happen.
Well, that's true, and I think Kevin Seitzer said it best. He's gonna be aggressive regardless of whether he has fire or not, and he just can't get wrapped up in that. He's got good stuff, no doubt about it, and that fire just helps him. But he also has a great pickoff move at first base, so he can help himself in a lot of different ways. And we said earlier in the broadcast, and facing such a short turnaround, then you got to make sure that you're aggressive early count, especially if he's throwing first pitch strikes.
And Frank, one thing about him, he does have the reputation of a high pitch count guy, so you can run him up on him, and that's what the Royals will have to try to do here tonight. See if you can get him out in the middle innings. And
as a hitter, Frank, going up against a guy that clearly has figured things out, as you see what he has done in May, knowing that not high strung, but just that he's animated and. I mean, do you say maybe I can get him off his game a little bit, whether it's being patient or whether it's fouling balls off, running up that pitch count? What's the thought process?
Well, in our day, so to speak, I hate to go back too far, but Amos Otis was one of the best at it. If he saw a pitcher that's in rhythm, throwing strike after strike, getting the quick outs, then we'd start stepping out on the pitcher. Just start to try to break his rhythm a little bit. You don't see that much today. They just kind of let him roll, like in Burley's case last night. He just kept going and going and going. But you got to try to break their rhythm by stepping out, causing some kind of confusion on their end. And if they do that, if he's on, they could take advantage of the fact that he does have that fire.
And you talk about the fire, Ozzie Guillen, he's fired up about every day. You saw the numbers of April and May for Jake Peavy. And talking to the White Sox people, he wasn't off to a good start because his mechanics were messed up. He didn't finish. He didn't finish out over his front foot. He didn't drive down the hill. He was a stand-up guy, and he didn't have good command. All of a sudden, he made an adjustment, and he's in his program right now.
Whatever Ozzie Guillen just said, Frank, had to have been very funny because Joey Cora, his bench coach, has been around him for a long time as a coach, as a fellow player, and he had Joey Cora in stitches there. You never know what this guy's going to say.
Well, I mean, I talked to him yesterday, and he said something really funny. He says, when managers get fired, you get all these great comments from the players and about what a great guy he was and all this other stuff. He said, I told my guys, if I get fired and I read you guys saying stuff like that, I'm going to hold a press conference. I'm going to get on you guys.
He is a little different. And speaking of unique personalities, Jeff Cox, yeah, there you go. He's always a little bit unique with the personality, as well as we saw when he was here and now the third base coach there.
And all kinds of personality and a very good third base coach as well. You mentioned a lot of time in the Royals system.
And in the baseball academy as well, the Royals Academy with Frank.
He's academy trained, and if he's academy trained, that means he's fundamentally sound.
Yeah, he is. Means he's going to school in the morning, he's on the field in the afternoon.
Well, let's break this down now, because I don't know that there's a third base coach in baseball that moves around more than Jeff Cox. I mean, he can't stand still.
Well, if I was over there, I'd be moving around too from all sorts of things. But you know, the thing with him is that he's always in the right place at the right time, and that's what. As long as players know where you're going to be on certain hits, then that's all you have to do. But stand in one spot, the legs get a little tired.
You know, he is always chattering. I think if I'm the third baseman playing next to him, I got to really concentrate on the ball game because he's in your ear all the time.
It reminded me of Ron Luciano. He used to sneak up behind you as an umpire, and he'd talk and talk. He'd say, "Ronnie, get back, you know, because he will break your concentration. Some guys just like to talk.
He's working on his signals right now. Remember last year he had caught that foul ball or a ground ball, and he barehanded it and threw it up in the crowd and had all kinds of fun antics going. So we had him as our post-game show guest, and they threw the pie in the face, and usually you got to wipe the pie out of your eyes, and it's shaving cream so it burns. He just kept on talking.
Well, if he was in a blue uniform, he would be one of the guys we're going to have a microphone on, kind of like Rusty is with us. I mean, we don't want to mic him up, but good guys don't always wear black.
All right, let's talk a little bit about baseball because Luke Hochaver is on the hill, set to make his start, and we'll take a look at the Royals defense. 6-10 at home this season, but split a defensive lineup that we certainly have seen on most nights.
Well, the Royals, and we saw earlier in the season, did not play solid baseball. A lot of it was defensive problems. They did play well, a clean game here last night. You hope they can go back-to-back days.
And Frank, now you try to get a little bit of momentum. Luke Hochaver has had a lot of success in his career against the White Sox and trying to lead the Royals to their first 3-game winning streak of the year.
Well, early strikes, this is going to be the thing about Luke tonight. Early strikes, early contact, get past these first 3 innings as quickly as possible, and get deep in the ballgame.
And you see Luke's numbers there, and against the White Sox, 3-2 with a 3.14 ERA and 7 appearances and 6 games started. He will have to first face the pesky leadoff man, Juan Pierre. So we are set to get underway. 1 hour delay officially here at Kauffman Stadium, but just like a normal weeknight start, now 7:10. Juan Pierre leads the American League in stolen bases, so as was the case last night, very important to keep Juan Pierre off the base paths and not let him start to try to create something.
And that's been a problem recently. 9 hits in his last 5 ball games.
Well, Betancourt, beautiful play as he ranges to his left and gets the speedy Pierre.
If you want to see a quick release on a play, Paul, this is it right here. He knows he's got a fast runner in Pierre. He just wastes no time. As soon as that ball's in his glove, it's gone, and with a lot of juice on that throw.
Ranging as far to his left as he did, you got a pretty good opportunity to play the hop that you want, don't you?
Well, you see, it's easy to catch it off to the side like that. You see it better than the one coming right at you, but it's just amazing the agility that he showed and the arm strength on that play.
Well, Betancourt, who made a beautiful play to retire Mark Teahen last night, off to a nice start defensively here as Gordon Beckham is the hitter. Betancourt taking a strike, couple of 96-mile-an-hour fastballs from Luke.
Beckham goes from the bottom of the order yesterday to number 2 today. Has really had a problem in May, barely 100 average. But he has gotten on base some. 9 walks in his last 9 games, so that tells you he's pretty selective at the plate. I think he's their most versatile player, Frank.
I agree with you, too. And they're just waiting on him to get going. And I think Audrey's going to do everything to keep him in the lineup until he finds that stroke. Because he was a top draft choice, and he's the heir apparent to that job. And I hope he can do it for a long time.
Ended up playing a lot of third base last year. And you kind of think about Josh Fields a little bit, the guy the Royals picked up. I mean, kind of similar players.
Got him looking 97 miles an hour, first strikeout of the game for Luke Hochaver.
This is really a nice start for Luke because right now you're a little bit concerned about the short time out. Last time out, yesterday off in between. Does he start off a little too strong where he's overthrown the ball and not in the zone? Well, we got an early look here tonight. Not only in the zone, but at the knees with a lot of life on it.
Game time and temperature brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. First pitch 7:11, so an hour and 1 minute late. Temperature 55 degrees. Cool night at the ballpark as the Royals looking for their 3rd win in a row, and Luke Hochaver turning to the breaking ball for the first time. Andrew Jones getting his first start of the series after sitting out last night. 98 split.
We have to check that gun.
They've had it plugged in the last hour.
That one obviously looked more like 97. I mean, come on, clearly.
Can you see that?
No. Another ground ball to Betancourt. He's got it, a 1-2-3 inning for Luke Hochaber as the Royals coming up in the bottom of the first. To protect us, Ned Yost in his second game as manager of the Kansas City Royals. As take a look at Jake Peavy, who's making his 8th start of the game. Split the Kia report.
Well, the power arm and that easy delivery to go along with it, the command of 3 different pitches, all of them well above average. I mean, bottom line, he is the real deal. Has it all and won a Cy Young Award in 07 with San Diego.
Scott Sednick will lead things off against a former teammate, but one that wasn't a teammate of his too long, as he came over in the trade last year, was hurt for a while before getting onto the field. Traded over Jake Peavy on July 31st, 2009.
Right at the trading deadline, they looked to make that deal back in May, and it fell apart because he had no trade clause. Ended up waiving the clause, and at the time of the deal, he hadn't pitched in 7 weeks.
Well, he doesn't look like it's been a 7-week layoff now, as he has heated up in May and showing Split a very good breaking ball as well. Let's look at the defense, Frank, surrounding Jake Peavy.
Well, Juan Pierre will be in left field. Rios, Andrew Jones in right. Martin at third base. Alexi Ramirez, Gordon Beckham, Mark Kotsay, Jake Peavy pitching. Ramon Castro is in there for for AJ Pierzynski.
Right, and Pierzynski's not a guy that gets a whole lot of days off as well. Castro was on the disabled list recently back, and a guy that, as a backup, still has a couple feathers in his cap, namely catching the perfect game from Mark Burley last year.
Well, that's a nice feather to have in your cap there. A lot of catchers don't get that opportunity.
Mike Aviles grounds that ball, knocks Martin down, and Aviles is going to scamper down the line for the hit, we think. And it is ruled a base hit. Last night, ball underneath Tien's glove was an error, but this time, Frank, what happens to him here as he's moving to his left?
Well, he's reaching. The ball's actually behind him, and he reaches to catch this ball, and then he just couldn't get his feet together. And when he stumbled, he just didn't have a chance to make this play right here.
Frank, they made an attempt to shore up the left side of the infield a year ago. 54 errors from their shortstop and third baseman. That was the most in the American League. That's why they wanted to improve their defense with Tien at third.
Well, that's true. And I don't think it would have a chance to throw Aviles out on this play.
Well, Mike Aviles had a 5-game hitting streak snapped last night and starts a new one. He seems to find a way to get hits on most days, and last night a rare 0 for him as David DeJesus now steps in.
Big item for him as he continues to get solid at-bats. Even though he went hitless last night, he's still hitting 8 of his last 10. That's before that infield hit there. Got to be careful of the move by Peavy. Burley was sneaky here last night. Peavy is quick with his move.
And Jose Guillen was caught looking last night as Mark Burley got him, and he said after the game that, hey, Mark Burley has one of the best moves that he has ever seen along with Andy Pettitte. And by the time he reacted, and Rusty as well, ball was already there.
Well, if he's going to listen to Rusty to say back and then react, he's going to be out anyway. I think there's a big misconception at first base when you're a coach that if you don't yell the word back, then you're the reason the guy got picked off. But that's a courtesy that the coaches do over there. But if he waits to hear that, he's already out.
If you're hearing it, you're done.
You're done.
If you see the lightning, it's too late.
Well, they look at you and say, why'd you yell back?
Who, me?
I said, why weren't you watching?
Interesting, guys, that David DeJesus, who has moved to the 3rd spot in the batting order on this homestand, has 5 walks and a sacrifice batting 3rd.
And on base a couple times here last night. Remember, David got off to a slow start last year. Put on a strong finish. Still about a 285 hitter. If you tried to put down a number at the beginning of the year, I'd feel comfortable with that guess.
Yeah, you probably get 12, 13 home runs out of him if he's swinging the bat like he did last year. He's been consistently in that range. But usually doesn't drive in a ton of runs, mainly because he's in the leadoff spot.
Had a double last Sunday in Texas, the 174th of his career, which ties him for Mike McFarland for 9th on Kansas City's all-time list. He's always moving up some kind of list, it seems like, every day. It's a testament to his longevity here with the Royals.
And Castro with the white paint on the back of his fingers, so make sure the pitcher can see the signs. Some catchers will use white tape on their fingertips, and that might affect the throwing a little bit, but there are shadows there, especially with the gray uniform. I think I'd want to stay away from the white fingernail polish that some of them use, but just so it's effective.
Well, the fingernail polish was here last night on Girls' Night Out. DeJesus is going to ground out to Mark Kotze. Mike Aviles moves over, and Billy Butler will come up with a runner on second base and 2 outs. Billy 1 for 4 last night, batting .324 on the season, and a chance to try to get the Royals an early run here, something that they have not been able to do lately, but in the last 2 games, able to break through middle to late of the game.
Bill, I think what you want to try to do in the first inning every day is make sure your number 3 and 4 hitters come up with men in scoring position, and the Royals have been able to get that accomplished. Now it's up to that 3rd hitter to get that big 2-out base hit.
Well, 2 outs, runners in scoring position. Billy batting .267 on the year with 4 RBIs, so still some work for Billy to do in that situation, and he knows that. He's certainly capable of it.
Really seeing the ball pretty well in this homestand. Already has 3 runs driven in, so not too bad out of the number 4 hitter.
.324 average is 10th in the American League in hitting. He's got the 4th most hits in the American League.
He's approaching 50 hits. He's at 46 coming in. How about Austin Jackson, the first guy in the American League to 50 hits, and he's a rookie.
When I first saw him, Ryan and I talked about him, Paul, and we both said this guy is going to be a good player in the American League. Talked to Johnny Damon about him. Johnny said he's going to be a super player in the American League, and having Johnny there to help him in that leadoff role as a hitter, that takes him a long way.
I remember Jim Leland talking in camp about they knew he was going to play the good defense in center field. They hoped that he was ready to hit. I think that's been answered.
Yeah, I think the strikeouts were a concern coming in to see if that was going to be a big problem, but he's really taken off, and they have a Cabrera right there with him. It's pretty awesome.
Well, Billy swinging at ball 4 there, the late movement fooling him, and what was a 3-0 count now is full.
Well, Peavy can do so many things. Doesn't have to go to the fastball in a fastball count. That low three-quarter delivery, they really threw off a right-handed hitter.
But Billy has been on to chase that slider down and away, especially if they work him on the inner half. They did a good job laying off on that pitch there.
That's the one thing about Billy, the ability to make the adjustment. And that might look bad on one pitch, but you throw that same thing up there again, he might hit a line drive. If it's out of the zone, he'll go ahead and take it.
We got runners on first and second right now, and Jose Guillen is going to come up and had been struggling, an 0 for 21 hitless streak, and last night breaks up Mark Burley's no-hitter the first time, and then the second time a hit to knock in the go-ahead run.
And Guillen's last start against Peavy, he was 0 for 4, and he chased a lot of sliders down and away, and that's when he's going through that overswinging period where he's trying to really just kill the ball. But Peavy can be nasty. If his fastball is on, his slider's going to be even more devastating.
Ouch. That hits Jose in the hand, and Jose, a guy that is known for having a very high pain tolerance, is really hurting on this one as trainer Kyle Turner is going to come out along with Ned Yost.
Peavy gets so much movement on not just the breaking ball, but also his fastball, especially when it's to the arm side of the plate. That ball headed for the inside corner, but all of a sudden doesn't sink. It takes off and almost rides a little bit. Let's have another look. They're trying to elevate the ball on Guillen, get it in on his hands, and boy, they really got it on his hands.
Well, that's way up in there. He did his best to try to turn away from it, but
see how Castro setting up? I mean, he's set up high for a catcher right there. He doesn't want that at the knees. They wanted it up and in.
Yeah, that's no meat there, Paul.
Nope.
I mean, that's all bone, and you got a hold of that bat, too, and that makes it even worse.
Jose hit by a pitch for the third time this year, and now have to see exactly where it got him and whether he can stay in the game or not. I mean, he is a guy, throughout some of the injuries that we've seen, that tends to have a higher pain tolerance than most. I mean, he's a guy that doesn't like to come out of the game, and trying to get some of that feeling back right now.
Yeah, look, it might be down toward the lower fingertips. But on the back of the hand, that's where it really gets you right there. But he might be able to work that out and not having to go out in the field and throw or anything like that. That might be an advantage. We can see right here how this ball really seeks in and gets to the top hand right on those fingers as it's gripping the bat.
So many times it hits the bottom hand, the back of the hand, and that's where the bone gets broken. It's not often you see that top hand get hit.
Right, you definitely worry about the back of the hand for sure. But like I say, with those fingertips, he could work this out because he doesn't have to try to worry about throwing a ball because he's DHing.
Well, bases loaded with 2 outs for Alberto Callaspo, who has 9 career at-bats against Jake Peavy. He's 2 for 9 against him with a couple of strikeouts and an opportunity now, as that average keeps climbing a little bit day by day, up at 310, to do some early inning damage.
Alberto in with a modest 4-game hitting streak, but multiple hit games all in there. 7 hits during the time. Average has been hovering around 300 all year.
He's just been great, Paul. I mean, just watching him hit every day, he's just one of those guys you look forward to seeing come to the plate, because you don't see many hands hitters, and this guy just really has that slow body, and those hands just fire when he lets go.
And it doesn't seem to make any difference to him whether he moves around defensively in the infield. I mean, he looks as comfortable playing day in and day out at third base as he did second.
I'd say he's played well at third, and everybody kind of felt coming in that he would be better at third base than at second base, mainly because of the range factor.
Well, takes that pitch, and now ahead in the count 3-1, and Jake Peavy has already thrown 23 pitches here in this first inning, a little bit different than what we saw last night with Mark Burley.
Can you sit on a pitcher?
I would. I'd sit on my pitch. If it's not there, I'd let it go.
He was sitting.
And that's what hurts you with good pitchers. You face good pitchers. They know that you got them in a window where they got to give you what you want, but you can't miss your pitch. And there, Alberto definitely missed his pitch.
Well, does Callaspo let Peavy off the hook, or does Peavy let Callaspo off the hook?
Anything close right now, Joel.
That one was close to Rusty Kuntz, who didn't move.
That was a lot tougher pitch to handle than the one he fouled straight back. That was a cutter in on the hands.
Rusty, calm as can be out there. That's not going to hit me. No biggie. Cayaspo to left field. It is down the line. Aviles is going to score. Butler's going to score. Eddie Rodriguez is waving around Jose Guillen. He scores as well. A double for Alberto Cayaspo. And the Royals have an early 3-0 lead.
Frank, you talk about some good hitting. Fastball down the middle, he fouls it back. Cutter on the hands, he pulls it. Then they go to pitch him away. Just goes with it. It's elevated. He gets it elevated. That is a great at bat.
That's an outstanding at bat. With 2 strikes, you just want to hit the ball where it's pitched. And he just used all hands when he hit that ball there, Paul. And that's what makes hitting. When hitters are on, that's what makes them really impressive to watch daily.
Again, review. I mean, the fastball down the middle, you say, oh, he missed his pitch. Now you think he's in trouble. Then that one, he's quick out in front. Gets it fair. That's in the right field corner. Now down to the left field corner. Where do you go now?
He just follows the ball.
23rd, 24th, and 25th RBIs. Mitch Meyer going to get it to Gordon Beckham, and he is ruled out at first base. Mitch not sure that he likes that one. That will end the inning. Mitch absolutely sure he's safe, but the Royals score 3 runs in the first and lead at 3-0. Nothing. Jake Peavy throwing 28 pitches in the first inning, and Luke Hochevar now, guys, spotted with a nice 3-0 lead. And boy, when it comes to run support, he has been fortunate this year in that category. 7.36 runs per 9 innings pitched. Paul Konerko, his first pitch swinging, and a quick out, quick work for Luke, who threw 13 pitches in the first inning.
Luke has been blessed with good run support on the other end of Zach and Banny. They're just under 3 runs per game.
Now you can watch player locker room interviews anytime you want. Go to FoxSportsKansasCity.com and click on the video link for 24-hour access to Royals info and video. We've got Ned Yost's introductory news conference as Royals manager up there, the 16th manager in Royals history, and maybe settling in just a little bit after a hectic but successful first day. Alex Rios off to a real nice start. His first full season with the Chicago White Sox after coming over last year. And he gets hit by a pitch. Huh.
Pretty much the same story. A fastball elevated with tailing action in on the hands of the right-handed hitter.
When you watch this pitch here, this is the two-seamer that just starts running in and just kept diving in on Alex Rios.
Talking about tit for tat last night, Split?
Who did? You did?
You were. Weren't you talking about tit for tat last night?
Don't think so. Why do you always blame me?
I don't know. You're easy to blame.
Because you're the pitcher.
Because you're the pitcher. And because if I don't blame you first, you're going to blame me. Alex Rios was running on the play as Mark Kotze fouled it off, so he will head back. And Frank, he's a guy that, when playing well, and he has this year, can do everything, including running the bases.
Well, that's what Luke has to contend with, is when they get speed on the bases, being able to control the running game and still maintain the concentration at the plate.
Rios 6th in the American League with those 11 stolen bases, as Luke with the pitch there. Now 1-2 on the count.
Not an ideal running situation there, down 3-0 already, but that's the kind of team that Ozzie wants his team to be. Somebody that can manufacture some runs, steal a base here and there, take an extra base with the ball in the alley. To date, they've still been kind of a home run or nothing club. And that's hurt them overall. They haven't had many hot hitters.
Well, he is running. There's the throw, and in there for the stolen base. 12th of the year for Alex Rios.
Frank, I think if the ball doesn't tail, they probably get it.
I think he's got a great shot. But Jason throws have been tailing down the first base line a lot of late. Probably just trying to be a little too quick and don't get a good grip and cause the ball to sail. But I agree with you, Paul. But it looks like Ozzie again wants to keep the pressure on early in the game and try to get back in the ball game.
Mark Kotze, one of those valuable, versatile guys that can play all over the place, was out in right field last night, over at first base tonight with Paul Konerko getting the assignment of designated hitter.
They'd like to pick it up at the plate a little bit. He's just 3 for his last 22.
Luke gets him looking. Right down at the knees. Second strikeout of the game for Hochaver.
Well, they want to pitch it to knees against the left-handed hitter, and I think he anticipated this ball tailing away, maybe off the plate. It looked like Luke maybe came back with a four-seamer. Ball actually had a little running action to it. Even surprised Kendall a little bit.
So Alexei Ramirez, the hitter, with 2 outs here in the top of the second. Rios on second base. Luke, if he can retire Ramirez here, and maybe a quick at bat, is really doing well as far as efficiency goes as he drops that one in for a strike. That's just his 24th pitch of the game here in the second inning. And in comparison, Peavy, 28 pitches in the first.
Sometimes Luke was a sinker slider guy. That's a dandy curveball right there.
Well, anytime you get that hitter to lean back, Paul, that's a pretty good curveball. It looks like it's coming at him, and then it goes across the plate and down.
Luke wanting to appeal down to first base. DJ Rayburn says no, and so the ball 1-1.
Well, that's something Luke very rarely ever does, is get into it like he was right there. So maybe he's feeling a lot better, a lot more confident on the mound.
Ball is up the middle, going to get past Junieski Betancourt, and Alex Rios waved around for the first run of the game for the White Sox. 3-1, Kansas City on top.
Looks like Betancourt was shaded towards the hole a little bit right there, not playing straight up, and that cost the Royals a ground ball that got by him to the left. Fastball out of the plate, down pretty well. Kind of a routine ground ball, but you see Betancourt's starting position.
Well, I agree with you, Paul. I think a lot of the positioning is going to have to start coming from the pitcher that's on the mound. And when you got a fastball like Luke's, a well above average fastball with movement, you can play straight up, and you don't have to overplay in the hole, and you'll take some of those hits away up the middle.
keeping his eye on Alexei Ramirez, who is 1 for 1 on stolen base attempts this year, as Mark Teahan, the longtime Royal, traded in the offseason, coming up and been struggling as of late. 0 for 4 night last night with an error. Just 7 hits in his last 49 at-bats, and so trying to get things going a little bit, and I think that the folks in Chicago should figure out eventually here, they may not be patient with it, that Mark's going to get his hits.
Well, they're going to stick with him a long time. They extended his contract 3 years. He's going to be in there every day at third.
Yeah, they're going to ride him all the way, Paul, like you said. And Mark's always had a little trouble getting going, but when he gets in trouble, it's mainly because he's not using his lower half. And he wants to swing more upper body. That makes him susceptible to the breaking ball down underneath his hands and the fastball out over the plate up.
And a shot to right center field. Mitch Meyer going to call off David DeJesus, and he's got it for the out. After 1.5, the Royals lead 3-1 at Kauffman Stadium. Royals on top, 3-1 here in the bottom of the second. It is Armed Forces Day at Kauffman Stadium, which leads us to our Sprint You Call a question, and there is no wrong answer tonight. What is your favorite branch of service? A, Army, B, Navy, C, Air Force, D, Marines, and you can text 432-432 and enter keyword Royals. Don't forget the space after that, and take your pick, guys. You got a choice. There really isn't a wrong answer. Mark Kotze's all over the place on that one, and it's going to fall. As far as the Sprint You Call It sweepstakes, you can enter today and chance for a suite for you and 11 guests to a future Royals game. Follow directions provided in a text bounce back message. Visit sprint.com/sponsorship/sports for complete rules. Standard text rates apply. Our first winner is going to be here tomorrow.
I'm a D guy on that list. My dad was a Marine in World War II, so plenty of discipline around my house, I'll tell you that.
my dad was Army, but when I was a kid, I thought the Air Force was kind of cool.
Kotze has a second chance at this one, and he's going to get it to retire Unieski Betancourt. I was always rooting, at least in that Army-Navy game, that annual football game, for the Army. My dad was in the Army Reserves, and I think way back when actually went to an Army-Navy game and met Robert Kennedy.
Brother-in-law was a Navy pilot, so I got to take the second one. I'm probably going to be in that column.
How about some love out there for the Air Force, everybody, and the Marines? Encourage everybody to vote and have a little bit of fun tonight. I've got a buddy that's in the Air Force and overseas right now.
Air Force Academy is really impressive out in Colorado Springs. Wow. Remember the day we went to the Naval Academy? Oh, we had the 2 days off in Baltimore.
Jason Kendall high up into the air, and he's retired by Andrew Jones, who was out in right field tonight. Just a reminder to look for the Miller Lite Tastes Greatness moment later in tonight's game. Maybe it'll be Scott Podsednik against his former Chicago White Sox teammates.
It was kind of a scheduling fluke that we had back-to-back days off. Had a few years had it like that. So that's how we ended up at the Naval Academy.
I'll tell you, that was so impressive. I mean, to watch, just walk around the grounds there, and we got a nice tour. It was awesome.
The academics that they pulled down, regardless of what your major is, you're within 3 or 4 hours of an engineering degree by the time you get out. Wow.
That's the way it was at Morningside, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing but engineers at Morningside and great pitchers.
Talking about train engineers.
Podsednik fouling that one off. Not sure that Ozzie early on here too thrilled, seemed to be voicing an opinion. The home plate umpire Paul Emmel.
Well, Ozzie's one of those managers that's going to fight for everything. You remember Billy Martin. I mean, he was so intimidating.
Podsednik down the line past the diving Mark Teahan, and he is on base for a hit here and perhaps a 2-out rally for the Royals in the second.
He said be kind of tough to defend because he'll slap it all over the ballpark. He does have a tendency to turn on it. Remember, he hit a home run against these guys last week in Chicago. Now pitching down and away. Just stay on top of it and slap it by Teahan.
That's always a good piece of hitting right there. When you can hit the ball the other way, stay on the pitch, and not only hit it the other way, but hit it with authority the other way. Now Podsednik with 2 outs, he's going to be looking to steal his base.
I think they figured that out.
Podsednik 13 for 16 on stolen bases so far this year, and PV definitely occupied with Podsednik at first base. The crowd not liking that. You see the AL stolen base leaderboard, and Pierre Gardner, Elvis Andrews, who we just saw down in Texas, and then Scott Podsednik.
Well, especially where Podsednik takes that lead, the slightly open stance when he gets out to his full lead, actually leaning a little bit. That invites you to throw over, try to read the feet and see what way they're leaning. Sometimes they try to put you to sleep by shorten the lead, but try to get a walking lead.
Well, Rusty Kuntz, when he teaches base stealing, then he puts them on that right leg to open those hips, so when they have to take off, they don't have to worry about crossing over and raising up. They're already into their full stride.
A ground ball to Alexei Ramirez. He steps on second base. That'll do it for PV here in the second, 3-1. a win just like he had back on May 4th against the White Sox. Members of the Royals 1985 World Series team will take on members of the 1985 Cardinals in the 85 Classic, presented by Farmland Foods. The Classic game starts at 1 p.m. on Saturday, May 22nd at Kauffman Stadium before the Royals take on the Colorado Rockies at 3:10. For more details, go to Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS.
If you manage that team, you don't have to be in the lineup, do you, Frank?
Oh, I may play 2 innings and run.
See, you finally got it out of him. I've been badgering him for the last 2 nights to try to get a commitment, and I couldn't get it. You got it, Split. Chalk down Frank for 2 innings. I'm going to give him a double in that game as throwing the dirt, but Betancourt gets Castro. How's that sound? A double, at least. I'll give you a double in that game. A nice play at second base.
What are the rules? Are you going to lob it in?
I may just be honorary captain that day.
I think,
I think it starts at 1:30, right?
I don't know.
Is that your nap time?
That's what they told me. No, I'm just kidding.
I think
it starts about 1:30.
We'll throw a microphone on you?
That'll put us too close to game time, so I'll probably just be honorary captain.
What do honorary details include?
Standing on first base and wait for somebody to say it's time to go.
Waiting for somebody to say get back up to the booth?
Should be a fun day. Get to see some of the Cardinal guys from '85 and see some of my teammates.
You keep in touch with, I know you keep in touch with a lot of those teammates from your '85 team, and some, showed up at Fan Fest. We saw George Orta and some of the other guys that maybe you hadn't seen as much recently. But what about some of the players on the other side? Some of those '85 Cardinals.
None of them.
Base hit for Juan Pierre. No, you've done some things with Ozzie Smith a little bit over the years.
I played golf with him a couple times, but it's fun to play with people you beat. You're always in charge. Luke's gonna have to go to work here, Joel.
Yeah, there are a couple things going on right now, aren't there?
And one in the name of Juan Pierre, who leads the American League with 17 stolen bases.
You got to think if Rios is running down 3, Pierre's going to be running down 2.
He's either going to be running, they're going to be hitting and running. They're going to do something. Ozzie's not going to sit back and just try to go for the long ball. Running has been part of their game. They lead the league in stolen bases.
We saw Jake Peavy occupied with Scott Podsednik last inning, throwing over 4 times to first base, and we'll see how Luke does here with Juan Pierre.
Still early in the ball game. If you're Luke right now, you want to do a good enough job right there at first base to give your catcher an opportunity to throw him out. But the main focus overall has got to be at home plate. Thought being, if you get Beckham, there isn't really a lot he can do to hurt you on at first base.
Well, that's the old pitch out. It wasn't a very good pitch out. Jason had to reach down to his right. You remember Big John when he played first base, you get those. As we take a look at this pitch out, he just hooked it a little bit more to the right. Now Jason would have had a hard time throwing him out with that one. But Big John, you get those little guys diving back into first base and tag him extra hard on the legs.
On the shins. He's just banging their knees.
Juan Pierre has 476 career stolen bases. That's 40th all time in the major leagues.
One of the reasons the White Sox think they can run Pierre quite a bit, his at-bats were way down last year, less than 400. He's normally up around 650 to 700, so they think he's really going to be fresh this year.
Well, I think, catcher accuracy also is one way a manager would look at, well, maybe we should challenge him. Kendall, his last few throws have tailed way down the line, and that might be a reason to run also.
A ball hit to Betancourt. Pierre was running, so the only play at first base for the out, and so Pierre is at second. There are 2 outs in the inning. Well, tomorrow's pitching matchup, an interesting one, guys, in the series finale. It's going to be Floyd Bannister. He's coming out of retirement.
Well, Floyd will be watching.
Floyd will be
we
watching.
Know that.
He'll be watching Splitting the Announcers. Good
you guys
joke.
Don't forget, don't you?
I know Ryan doesn't, and I think I was a part of that because I was interviewing Floyd in Arizona a couple of years ago, and we're in Arizona for interleague play, and I asked him how much he watches Brian's starts, and he said, I watch Splitting the Announcers all the time. And as Ryan kind of crawled under the desk, and I think we started calling him the announcers for a few weeks.
Pitchers listen to similar guys.
Paul Splittorff is going to listen to Floyd Bannister and vice versa.
Pretty good breaking ball right there. Talk about a guy looking for a ball up and out over the plate. Jones really fooled by this.
That's one of those sliders that looks real good coming out of the pitcher's hands, and when you commit, it's already moved off the plate by 2 balls. And Andrew Jones really would chase this ball with 2 strikes.
Andrew Jones, when you think about a guy like that, he's been around a long time. Looking there, but only 33 years old. You think, he's been around forever. He's got to be about 40, but he broke in when he was 19, 20 years old.
See how late Jason Kendall is sliding out to the outside corner. That's because the runner on at second base. If you go too early, they could flash a sign to tip the hitter off, which way they would go. Have some options now. It's been away all the time. You could stay that way, or you could try to surprise him and come inside with a fastball.
Jones with 9 home runs on the year, 5th in the American League.
Yeah, Luke's doing a real good job hitting that mid. He's following the catcher's mid across the plate, Paul. And when Jason Kendall wants that ball on the outside corner, he's getting it off the plate by maybe a baseball or 2. And then when he wants it down, he's keeping the ball down.
Well, Frank, that's one of the things I've enjoyed most so far this year is watching Kendall behind the plate on a day when Royals pitchers have their command. If they don't have their command, you can see it's really a tug of war, and it's not happening for them. But when they do have it going, Kendall does a nice job of setting up a ball game and kind of molding what that pitcher is going to do.
Forty 45 pitches for Luke Hochevar. Jones continues to stay alive and foul off some of those pitches. We saw last night the White Sox fouling off a lot of pitches against Gil Mesh, and that's ultimately what ended up chasing him on a very good night for Gil.
And that was a similar story to the day before with the Cleveland Indians going against Greinke. A lot of foul balls in that game.
Great outing for Gil Mesh, no decision, still winless, but a huge step for him and hopefully trying to get back to his form.
Well, that's true, Joel. And then Gil's game last night, out of those 100 pitches he threw, 23 were foul balls.
Well, that breaking ball upstairs, Andrew Jones gets the walk, and so first and third with 2 outs.
I think trying to fool Jones here going breaking ball on a 3-2 pitch. This many guys look fastball. Tough to get the call on the high breaking ball. Umpire knows that's not where you're trying to put it. Even though Fox Trash tell you it was there.
But you threw curveballs when you pitched. Did you find umpires had a hard time calling a curveball?
Not so much as they do now because the strike zone, I think, was bigger across the top. It went higher, so you had more room to operate within that zone. Now, it's from the belt to the knees instead of, the midway point from the letters in the belt. So I think that extra 4 or 5 inches makes it tougher on these guys here today.
Juan Pierre, by the way, I mentioned first and third. That's because Pierre on the walk ends up stealing third base, his 18th of the season. And so just like that, Luke Hochevar now having to deal with Juan Pierre, who has worked his way over to third. Gets Konerko up into the air. Mike Avila's going to call it, and out of the inning. 3-1, the Royals lead midway through the third. First class James Serve came home to Overland Park, Kansas on leave from Afghanistan on Mother's Day. He returns to Afghanistan in a couple of weeks with the 101st Air Assault Division out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Private Serve represents 3 generations of military service in his family. His father Joe is here tonight. His grandfather Bob Serve served in World War II and played for the Kansas City Athletics, hitting 38 home runs in 1958, which still stands as Kansas City's major league record for home runs. Good to have first-class Private James Serve in the Buck O'Neill seats as Jake Peavy snares that one. We had a chance, guys, to meet him earlier today, meet his father, and certainly want to send our best to his grandfather, who should be watching in Nebraska tonight, Bob Serve.
Couldn't wait to get to the front row here so he could look out on the field. Happy to have him in the booth.
Yeah, it was neat to have him up in the booth. Met his mother, met his father, and heading back to Afghanistan in a little less than a week and a half. So we wish him nothing but the best. And again, a thanks to him and all of his fellow servicemen and servicewomen for everything they do to protect us. Billy Butler walked in the first inning and ended up coming around to score on Alberto Callaspo's bases loaded double. Billy has a 4-game hitting streak going right now.
White Sox playing very shallow against Billy. Gap power, especially shallow in right field. Andrew Jones. That's Johnson, didn't it?
They must be banking on this heavy air and the ball not traveling.
Well, the ball is traveling and it is gone. Billy Butler with the home run, his 4th of the year. Billy Butler putting the Royals on top 4-1 here in the 3rd inning. Jose Guillen now going to step in, a little grounder to first base, and Marcotte going to scoot over for the second out.
Well, you talk about a perfect setup. That was a perfect setup, Paul. Outfielders playing in, possibly because of the heavy air tonight, but Billy Butler turns everything around with this home run to left center field.
Frank, that's one of those pitches with the tailing action. They normally want it up on the hand so they can tie the hitter up, but down and in that time, Billy just dropped the bat head on it, got to the zone.
Well, like you said with Billy, it's all about adjustments, and he does a good job of that.
Billy Butler safe at home, safe and secure New York life. Now Billy's going to tell everybody about it.
Oh, he'll walk him down the bench until it's time to go back out.
Callaspo to center field, and Rios, who almost looks like he's playing a little bit left field as well, grabs that. Royals on top, 4-1. best items at Panera Bread. And by Chevrolet. Come see for yourself why 1,000 people a day are switching to Chevy. See your Kansas City area Chevy dealer. Billy Butler giving the Royals their 4th run of the game, and Alex Rios steps in and takes a strike.
Thought he got a hanging breaking ball. How about that swing?
Well, that's tight breaking ball. You're going to have that kind of swing on a pitch like that.
Radar done again with Luke throwing hard tonight, 97 it says.
Big thing with Luke is they've slowed his tempo quite a bit. A little bit more of a hip turn, makes him a little bit more deceptive to the hitter. More importantly, gives him time to get his arm in a good release point.
Right to Unieski Betancourt for the first out of the inning. Tune in to Hy-Vee Royals Live tomorrow before the game as we take a look at the top plays of the week. This regular Sunday feature highlights the best Royals plays from every game each week. Don't miss it tomorrow on Hy-Vee Royals Live at 12:30 on Fox Sports Kansas City. Boulevard Royals Live after the game before the Royals head to Baltimore tomorrow. I've already started the debate with our producer, TJ McGinnis, about what some of those plays are. A little back and forth every week. I'm always lobbying Frank for the good defensive plays.
Hey, that's part of the game, too.
Often forgotten. A lot of those highlight shows sometimes forget about that good defense.
It's hard to get paid on defense, though.
It's hard to make that play, but Mike Aviles does.
Put that in the top 10, would you?
It's in.
But, and also the Luke part of this. Skyen trying to knock it down.
But what a nice play by Mike. Normally you don't want to barehand a ball that's bouncing that high off the ground because you got to get it just right in your hand. But he comes in and makes a nice scoop, keeps his balance, makes a nice strike throw to Billy at first base. What a great play that was.
Split, when I know that there's an amazing play at second base is when a guy that's won 8 gold gloves sitting up in the broadcast booth has his hand up in the air.
I celebrate all great plays.
To me, that was one of the real thrills of playing in the big leagues is watching the defense and the speed of people out there. I was amazed with the speed when I first got there and the ability of everybody to go out and handle the leather.
Well, Paul, if you can play defense and you watch guys play defense well, I mean, it's just as enjoyable as watching somebody hit a home run.
Alexei Ramirez showing bunt the pitch before and tries to lay it down here. Hard to say that Ramirez would be more comfortable on the road than at home. He's only batting .245 on the road, at least coming into this game, but batting .191 at home this year at U.S. Cellular.
I'm just glad to get the White Sox here in Kansas City. The Royals have played 9 straight on the south side. The last half a dozen a year ago, the first 3 of this year. It's been a while since these boys have been in town.
And it's good to get them on the road right now because they've lost 10 of their last 13 away from Chicago. Alexei Ramirez sends this one out to left center field. Mitch Meyer going to call for it. And Luke Hochevar, another good inning for him. Royals on top, 4-1. Cardinals lead the White Sox 4-1. Our Sprint, you call it, favorite branch of service, and Army edging out Navy right now. Air Force Marines 14% and 3%. What about the Marines?
Well, they're out on the West Coast, so they don't have a lot of folks here. I can see the Army winning because of Fort Riley out in Jefferson City.
Well, that ball going to be hit to Juan Pierre for the first out. You should recognize the Coast Guard as well. Nice to see everybody having a good...
You went to Fort Riley?
Yes, I did go to Fort Riley
caravan
with George Brett, Jamie Quirk, and Joe Randa. Had a great time. Good folks over there. What was amazing to me was watching and seeing some of these amazing high technology helicopters and state of the art that can shoot down targets from so far away, and then looking at some of the highly trained pilots that were flying these helicopters, 23, 24 years old. So young, but yet so talented, so just unbelievable.
And all the people who were there when you were out there have been deployed there in Iraq now. I think they left in March.
The guy that absolutely eats all that up is George. He was sitting in the cockpit of each one of those. Yesky Betancourt to Jake Peavy, a couple quick outs for the White Sox right. Here's the Roadrunner Turbo pitch speed comparison. Now fast is even faster. Double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. Peavy at 95. Luke Hochaver at 98 miles an hour. Frank, as Ryan would say, your thoughts?
I've never seen him throw that hard before.
Starting to figure out now why Ryan says, Frank, your thoughts. It's whenever you have a little bit of a look on your face.
I have thoughts, but I can't say my thoughts.
That's what Ryan is. When he doesn't want to say it, he listens to you.
Jason Kendall comes up now, and we mentioned it yesterday, guys, that Ned Yost is someone very familiar with Jason Kendall. He caught for him in Milwaukee, caught for Ned Yost, and he's telling us today that Jason Kendall is the epitome of what I want in a player. Down swinging there. It's 4-1 after 4.
He's got the curveball working, the hard sliders working, and he's really challenging with his fastball.
Been so solid that right now you hope that 4 runs might be enough.
Well, we sure are hoping. But we like to see a little more offense. You know how that goes.
Jason Kendall, as he receives that, showing that he is the epitome of a ball player. I don't think that Ned Yost's opinion has changed because of the strikeout. It was just a poorly placed 2-out story.
That was a run-on story.
No, it stopped. Starting again. Martin looking for his first hit as a visitor at Kauffman Stadium. He's not going to get it here as Luke Hochaver with his third strikeout of the game.
Dandy breaking ball right there. Strike one already on the grid. They're set up on the outside corner. The epitome of off catches because he's getting his pitcher some nice calls right now.
I think we've just used
nice
the word.
follow-up?
Yeah, we've used the word epitome 3 times now.
I've never used it before.
What does it mean?
I don't know. Ideal. The guy you want.
He also described him as a grizzled vet. He said, well, you know, he's a kid. And then he corrected himself and said, no, he's a grizzled vet that is always ready to go. Really going to run out of real estate there as Ramon Castro is at the plate looking for his first hit of the year. Oh, yeah. All right. Now the security guy is, where do I... Billy could have stepped on him and reached over. Is that legal?
Oh, that's legal. That's not stepping. You can't get on top of the tarp, but
Jason Kendall doesn't see it, does find it, and gets the out. It's the epitome of a guy that doesn't give up.
Well, it's starting to get a little misty in here. Maybe it's affecting the eyesight of the players on those high fly balls. He might have got a little water in his eye right there, Paul. That's why catching pop-ups in the rain, you always want to make sure you didn't get a dead center drop of rain right in your eye.
One thing that's always amazed me about catchers is they never had sunglasses. You guys all had the flip downs and used them all the time. They never seemed to lose the ball in the sun.
Mitch Meyer tracks that, and Luke Hochaver just 68 pitches through 5 innings. Royals on top, 4-1. Day here at the ballpark. It's a fun night as Scott Podsednik leads things off. You guys look like you are thinking, puzzled.
Yeah,
I am too. We've been kind of running through some of the I know during the commercial we were running through some of the possible guys, but they're not necessarily high average guys. Both shaking your heads. Can we say who we think it's not? Frank's writing something down, but we've sort of ruled out A-Rod, Palmeiro. Wait a minute, though. Maybe A-Rod did have a high average. I'm just thinking. Maybe it could be A-Rod. Maybe we should leave A-Rod in this discussion.
But there are three of them, aren't there?
I'm just trying to get one.
Oh, yeah, we got to get one first.
Before we get shut out. But Sednick is not a 500 home run hitter, but he is on base once again for the Kansas City Royals' second hit of the game.
He got down the count, no balls, 2 strikes, and Peavy came well in off the plate, forced him to move his feet, which is a nice move. Remember, he got base hit the opposite way his last time up, so he kind of set that up. It's just a good at bat for Sednick right here to come back and get a base hit.
He does a good job, Paul, of being real quiet at the plate, and you see it's slow body and just all hands. And one of the two guys that I really like watching hit on this team is Scott Podsednik and Alberto Caspo, just for that reason.
Sednick was drawing a lot of throws over from Peavy back in the second inning when he was on, and Mike Avila's trying to go to the right side, but a potential double play ball, 4-6-3 double play for the White Sox. We're going to get to the answer now. I was going to try to look it up real quick and cheat. Which 3 players with at least 500 home runs have led the AL in batting average since 1990? So we know that, he's in the ballpark. Frank Thomas.
About 15 feet away.
I was going to say Manny Ramirez. I didn't think that he... Yeah, right, I know. The truck's saying no. Well, we got in the broadcast booths tonight, Big Frank and Little Frank.
No comment. Well, that's what I would tell Ryan in times like these. I would just say no comment.
Yeah, no comment. Big Frank is a big dude, though. A chance to talk to him before. In his second game as an analyst on White Sox TV. Doing a little fill-in work with Hawk Harrelson. Big Frank is still big. David DeJesus lines that ball to right field. Andrew Jones has it. Royals on top, 4-1 after 5. season series Tuesday, June 1st, when the first 20,000 fans will receive a 1985 World Series 25th anniversary T-shirt presented by AT&T, the second of 6 T-shirt Tuesdays. For more details, go to Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. Had the Zach Greinke T-shirts this past Tuesday, and so it'll be fun to have the 85 World Series T-shirts. Gordon Beckham leads off. Unieski Betancourt been getting a lot of action out there today, and it's the quick out at first base. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Club and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Guys, Andrew Jones steps in, and, he was a part of all those Atlanta Braves teams, championship teams, pennant teams when Ned Yost was there. Ned Yost was the bullpen coach and third base coach. And I talked to Andrew about that, and he said, I've never known him as the manager, but I do remember him as a coach. Very fiery guys. He's really going to get them to play.
Andrew's kind of struggled with the bat over the last couple of years. Last year with Texas, a 214 average. Dodgers the year before that. Now hoping he can stay healthy.
Yeah, Ned Yost was telling us the other day that, what did he say, about 85% of what he learned was from Bobby Cox, and Andrew Jones echoed that, saying that anybody that's ever around Bobby Cox learns from him. And not that learning will stop after this year, but it'll be a little bit strange to not see Bobby Cox at the helm in Atlanta after the season. Andrew Jones, Unieski Betancourt with the play, and he gets him. That one might be on the plays of the week as well.
Joe, we talked earlier, when you see a great play, you can't help but recognize that this is about as good as it gets right here. Uni loses his feet, gets to his feet quickly, and makes a strike throw. And this ball is by him right here. And what an outstanding play.
Ryan, they talk about the guys who make the great plays and then struggle with the routine ones. The 2 previous throws he had made to first base had bounced, and Billy saved him a couple of errors. But boy, I tell you what, you see that play, and you can know he can go get it.
Well, this one a little bit easier. 2 hands, 76 pitches for Luke Hochaver as Unieski Betancourt reason to smile. One of the best defensive plays we've seen all year long. Head to the Cave for the kickoff of interleague play when the Royals take on the Colorado Rockies on Friday, May 21st. And be sure to stick around after the game for new and improved Fireworks Friday presented by Pepsi and Hy-Vee. For more details, go to Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. Jake Peavy with the strike there, 1-1 on Billy Butler, who homered in his last at-bat, walked the first plate appearance of the game. You know, we were talking before, guys, about needing the offense, which they got early on, the pitching they've had throughout from Luke Hochevar in the defense, and I think that if Luke can keep going here, he's going to give a lot of credit to his defense and some of the plays that they have made as he has forced the White Sox to put that ball on the ground. Another comebacker to Jake Peavy, and he retires Billy Butler for the first time today. Jose Guillen's going to come up now, and time for us to take a look at our league leaders, brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. Most game-winning RBIs in the American League, and Jose in a three-way tie with Franklin Gutierrez and Ryan Sweeney. Jose 0 for 1 on the game, being hit by a pitch in the hand in the first inning, scored on that, and good to see that he has been able to stay in the game because he was in a lot of pain initially on that one.
Well, you really hate to get hit anywhere below the wrist, Joel, and it just takes a little while for that feeling to come back, especially when on that hand that grips the bat.
His bones in there aren't all that big, and they tend to break, so I think it's awesome just that he's still in the ball game.
Well, this is a breaking ball here that Jose probably thought was coming at him. You've been inside one time, and all of a sudden you see a pitch coming at you, even though it's a changeup. You react to it like it's a fastball.
You know, he stayed in the game. It took a little while, ended up running the bases. Maybe helps a little bit in his case that he doesn't have to go right back out there, and he's going to sit down looking at a called third strike. Didn't have to go out there and play in the field as a designated hitter to get in there and get a little bit of work done on it.
Tough pitch to handle at any time, but especially after you've been hit on the hand, it's tough to dive out to the outside corner.
But you sure are a little more wary inside. You want to make sure that if he throws that fastball that runs inside that you're ready for it, and he paints on the outside corner, and that's when you just walk on back to the dugout.
Alberto Callaspo has 3 of the 4 RBIs in this game. He is going to fly out to center field, and Jake Peavy cruises here in the 6th. Royals on top, though, 4-1. So far this year, he seems to have the White Sox number. And as I say that, I'll just let everybody know that I'm knocking on wood, because that reverses any kind of, potential jinxes or something.
There's no wood.
Knock on your head, that counts, right? Or maybe Luke has just been really good.
Ground ball outs are normally a big item for Luke in all his ball games. 8 of them so far here tonight. That's if we can count that last one. Big ground ball. I think that was more of a rocket.
Yeah, still a ground ball.
Goes down as a ground ball.
But it's a bullet, though. You're going to get an oblique pull. That's where you're going to get one.
They came into the game going back to last year with 15 innings straight of not allowing an earned run to the White Sox.
Hasn't allowed a base runner in a while. He's retired 10 straight. Kind of quietly sliding along. We're impressed with the offense so far, but he's having a pretty solid game.
Well, I'm impressed with everything he's done tonight, from his pace to controlling the running game to being able to work both sides of the plate, follow Jason Kendall on both sides of the plate, and mix in all of his pitches. Normally you don't see him where he's got command of both his curveball and his slider in the same game, but he's doing a good job today.
Only damage in the second inning as he ended up hitting Alex Rios with a pitch. Rios stole second and was knocked in by Alexei Ramirez on a single, but that's it. And split that pitch count has been under control all night long, even in that third inning, only 21 pitches.
He's about an inning ahead of Peavy. Peavy's been running ahead of him all evening, so it looks like Ochever could go a little longer in this ball game.
And that's kind of been the pace all night long, really, as the Royals were able to run up that pitch count a little bit in the first inning, and he seems to have been an inning pace ahead all night long.
Well, Peavy had 43 pitches his first 2 innings here tonight, so that's a pretty good start for KC.
Ned Yost did tell us before the game that even with a little bit of a shorter bullpen, because he's got a couple of guys most likely not available, and Dusty Hughes and Robinson Tejeda's day-to-day with a calf injury. Not sure if he's going to go to Blake Wood after throwing 2 innings, that he really felt like Luke Ochever could go deep into this game, and that is what Luke is doing. Mark Kotze really struggling at the plate for the White Sox, but he does get that hit as DeJesus will cut it down. It's a single for Mark Kotze. Well, the perfect place to spend your Memorial Day holiday is at the K. Come on out for a special daytime edition of Buck Night when the Royals take on the Los Angeles Angels at 1:10 on Monday, May 31st for the unofficial start of summer. For details, go to Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. Doesn't feel like we're all that close to the unofficial start of summer quite yet here at chilly night at Kauffman Stadium.
Well, especially over the last couple innings, the wind has picked up, changed directions, and blown pretty much straight in. It's starting to rain a little bit harder.
Nice to make those hitters uncomfortable, and the weather conditions get worse for those hitters once you already have the lead.
Starters have done a job for the Royals each of the last 2 nights. Gill giving up just 4 hits last night. All of those are singles. And Luke tonight gives up 3 singles so far.
There's a ball to Betancourt. Going to have to hustle on this one, and the throw is wide. Billy Butler tries on the tag, but DJ Rayburn says safe, and so Ramirez is on at first. Kotze over to second.
Well, Betancourt's had a busy day. That was his 9th ground ball, and he catches the ball well behind him, but look, he had trouble getting the transfer from the glove to hand, and you can see him wipe his pant leg when he let it go. So he probably didn't get that good grip that he would like to have, and the ground's probably a little wet also, but you got to make those plays.
In fact, it looked like the ball rolled up his arm a little bit.
Official score, David Boyce rules it a single. So Alexei Ramirez with his 2nd hit of the night.
So we go back and take a look at it, and there, he didn't quite get it in his glove, but when he got it back in there, Paul, he just didn't get a good grip on it.
Looked like he was able to pin it against his body and at least keep it in front of him.
Martin 0 for 2 on the night and off to a slow start on the season and in his White Sox career. 0 for 6 so far in the series against his former team.
First time they have threatened since back in inning number 3, but you're in the bottom part of the batting order. You'd like to be able to stop it right here.
Little meeting on the mound with Jason Kendall, middle infielders in and getting all on the same page. And if Luke can get out of this jam here and see if he can't get things going quickly, maybe you can get in another inning in the 8th, but if not, you end up with 7 innings out.
Well, nobody warming up behind him, so this is still his ball game. Hadn't been in much trouble over the last 4 innings.
Well, Paul, normally this is a situation where Bob McClure would go to the mound and try to calm things down, but in this case, the players came in to kind of give Luke a little breather.
Well, I think if you don't have the veteran behind the plate, you would have seen McClure out there, but Jason Kendall still has everything in order.
Luke coming off of a tough outing in Texas where he was physically ill. He was sick in that game, throwing up in the bullpen before the game. Didn't last very long. But the game before that, he had pitched very well in Chicago. 3 times. That's when you know it's a long road trip. When a starting pitcher has 3 starts during a road trip.
Started off in Tampa Bay, a tough outing for him there. His number seems to come up on the road quite a bit.
He pitches better on the road, too. It's not a bad thing. I mean, that wasn't a good trip with what Tampa did to him, but typically in the past, he has done better away from Kauffman Stadium. Martin giving his former teammate Luke Hochevar a battle. Hoch at 93 pitches so far in the game, 61 strikes, 32 balls. Tien takes the ball for a walk, and now they are loaded up, and Hochevar not happy with himself after that one.
This batter with the breaking ball down and in didn't want to get the 3-ball count against Tien. Some big-time trouble right here. Now there is some stirring out in the Royals' pen.
And now Bob McClure is going to come out to talk to his pitcher.
Wouldn't think there's a whole lot to put back together right here, but I think it's an opportunity to give Luke a little bit of a break. 73 pitches when this inning started, but now the most serious jam of the night.
Ramon Castro is going to get a chance to hit against Luke Hochevar. Brad Thompson will be starting to loosen up for Ned Yost.
Luke's been doing a pretty good job with keeping that ball down and getting that sinker working, and Castro's a good double play guy, so if he can get that sinker over the plate down and get him a ground ball and get himself out of trouble.
Ramon Castro never had a hit off of Luke Hochevar in his career.
Frank, good idea to keep the ball down right here. You mentioned double play possibilities, but also Castro, a better high ball hitter than he is down low.
Crowd getting a little antsy here at Kauffman Stadium as the Royals with a 4-1 lead, but the potential go-ahead run at the plate. And that is going to give the White Sox at least 1 run. Alexei Ramirez coming home, throw cut off by Castro. 2 score on the play. It is 4-3. As the White Sox right back in this game on the RBI, 2 RBI hit by Ramon Castro.
Nice rally by Chicago right here because it happens in the bottom part of their batting order. Get 1 out in the inning, but a couple base hits, a walk, and now an RBI single. And that was a low pitch right there. Castro did a great job of getting the bat hit through the zone.
They hit it in a great spot too, Paul, and the White Sox are going to challenge Scott Podsednik's arm on this hard hit ball, not only because of the arm strength, but also he's throwing a wet ball.
First hit, first RBIs for Ramon Castro, who had spent a lot of time on the disabled list of the year, coming at a very opportune time for him and the White Sox.
Now, Pierre, a pretty good contact hitter. He does not possess a lot of power, so it'd be difficult for him to drive that runner home from second base. Shorten up your outfield, but he'll also be a tough candidate to double up.
Yeah, you just want to make sure you get the ball on the ground. At least you have that opportunity. Just keep it out of the air in this situation.
Oh, Mike Aviles, it gets right through him. Martinez being waved around, no throw. We have a tied ball game, 4-4, as Martinez scores and Juan Pierre with the RBI.
This is a little bit like last night's ball game against Burley. He's kind of sailing along. All of a sudden, the Royals' 5 consecutive men reach base against him. And now turn the tables here tonight against Luke.
But basically, I think Luke just lost his location, and he's jerking and breaking the ball off to the side there, and he leaves a fastball in the middle of the plate and just out of reach of Aviles at second base. And you see Martin coming around to score.
5 straight runners have reached base against Luke Hochevar, who had been cruising through this game, and this now will be his 100th pitch of the night.
Well, the dreaded 7th inning, guys.
It wasn't so dreadful last night, but it certainly has been throughout the year. Last night they did all of the scoring, but prior to that they'd been outscored 2-1 for the whole season in the 7th inning.
Last night was dreadful for the White Sox. That's just that third time through the lineup, and things just kind of happen.
So what you're saying is the 7th inning, one way or another, has been dreadful for someone in this series.
Beckham trying to wait back on that breaking ball. Swung through the hanger. The ball was up.
It was up. Very hittable. And if you're swinging good, it's a ball you can hit. But when you're struggling, you just hope you can hit it.
That ball is fouled off as Gordon Beckham just trying to break out of what has so far been a season-long funk for him. Sox came into the game last in the major leagues, hitting .205 with runners in scoring position, but Ramon Castro giving them a little bit of success here this inning, and now Gordon Beckham trying to keep the rally going and trying to give the White Sox a lead here in the game. That ball over a jumping Mike Aviles, and Ramon Castro going to stop right there at third base, and a little floating base hit for Gordon Beckham. And once again, the bases are loaded, but now Luke Hochevar is going to need to contend with the middle of the lineup, but it won't be Luke. Chevy called to the bullpen as Ned Yost comes out to make the pitching change. Brad Thompson coming in. We're tied up in a crucial situation for the Royals here in the 7th.
go on a half a dozen straight. Now here's Brad Thompson. They saw him a couple times up in Chicago, so they're familiar with the sinker baller. I was hoping for a ground ball right here.
Brad Thompson facing Andrew Jones. That ball hit to deep center field. Mitch Meyer is tracking back, gets it, but one run is going to score on the tag. Ramon Castro comes in, Juan Pierre over to third base, and the White Sox have the lead at 5-4.
You're getting good at bats up and down their lineup right now this time, Drew.
Well, you lead the ball up, and it's out over the plate, and the White Sox hitters, even though the averages aren't there, these guys are – they know how to drive in runs, and I think that's where you got to make sure you continue to make good pitches. You know, and Luke just at one inning, they always try to minimize the damage in the inning. That's the one thing he's been fighting, you know, since last year. And you give up one or two, but the inning just seemed to just to get away from it.
He has done a better job of limiting the damage this year than he did a year ago. But tough night here tonight.
Paul Konerko is the 9th hitter to come to the plate this inning.
He might be the best White Sox hitter as far as getting the ball in the air. Always been able to do that. So this will be a tough matchup. Trying to keep Konerko on the ground. Good news is you've got 2 outs, so the sacrifice fly doesn't do anything.
The ball has been up in the air for him all night long, but landing in the glove of the Royals defender each time, flying out in the second inning to right field and then popping up in the 3rd and 6th innings. Juan Pierre at 3rd, Gordon Beckham at 1st. Now at this point, Split try to contain the damage and see if you can get a little bit of offense rolling again.
Get back in the dugout, you're down by just 1, but unfortunately right now, Jake Peavy has it rolling. He has faced the minimum since the Billy Butler home run. Just 1 base runner, but got a double play in that inning. So all of a sudden now he's feeling pretty good about his opportunity.
Well, you just hang in there, and you just when you get behind, the good pitchers just keep battling and hope for an opportunity to just stay in this game. And that's what Peavy did. He got down, but he kept pitching hard, pitching well, and his team rewarded him for it here in the 7th inning.
Konerko takes 2-2 the count as the battle continues with Brad Thompson, who's 0-2 in the season. This is his 10th appearance for the Royals so far.
I think that last pitch is the one that Brad wanted. Sinker down and in.
Well, that ball is going to be fielded by Betancourt. Konerko does not run well, and so he throws him out, but not before the White Sox strike for 4. They've got a 5-4 lead. of Kansas City as they stretch them out here at Kauffman Stadium. Let's take a look around the league, brought to you by Panera, as New York all over the Twins behind Andy Pettit, who's 5-0, 7-1. Toronto blanks Texas 6-0. Tampa Bay one better than Seattle down in St. Petersburg on a walk-off. Boston leading Detroit right now 6-4. Cleveland on top of Baltimore 8-2, and Oakland and Los Angeles just underway in the fourth inning out west. Well, just saw the White Sox with their big seventh inning. How about the Royals last night here at Kauffman Stadium as they got some things going? DeJesus, Butler, Jose Guillen all with hits. Guillen had an RBI there. Callaspo kept it going with the single. Mitch Meyer a 2 RBI single. Jason Kendall floated one out there for an RBI single. And then Mike Aviles right past the glove of Martian, and that knocked in a run on the error as well. A 5-run, 6-hit 7th inning. And Luke Hochafer and the Royals, Frank, can certainly use that here tonight as Luke, 103 pitches, 6 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs. Good night turned sour quickly in 1 inning, but we saw the Royals the way they were able to break through last night.
Well, just down by 1 run, Joel, so they're right in the game. You know, they just got to make sure that the bullpen holds right here and give the offense a chance to do some damage.
Jake Peavy so far, 6 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, all earned. Most of that damage, though, Split, has been early, and he seems to have turned things around.
Well, it's one of those guys, when you got the real good ones, you need to get him early because by middle innings you're going to have a tough time. Now you hope that he is worn down a little bit, get some men on base. Their solid bullpen is the strength of it is late in the game.
Mitch Meyer 0 for 2 on the game, and for his first home run of the season. How about now? Why not?
Now, Ryan does predict things like that, so how good are you at predicting?
Does he get the negative ones right or the positive ones right?
All positive.
Sometimes they're reversed, though.
Ryan has a tendency to work both sides, though.
True. If you're going to get our negative, we're going to get their negative.
This is where a player like Peavy will develop his reputation of a great competitor, a bulldog guy, because all of a sudden he has his first lead of the night, although it's 1 run. But how long can he go into the evening protecting it? Nobody working in their pen.
Mitch Meyer up the middle. Can he beat this out? Beckham barehands it and just gets him, says DJ Rayburn. 2 close calls for Mitch in this game at first base tonight.
Well, you have to be impressed with the infield play tonight. You know, from Betancourt to Beckham. I mean, this is a play that normally you would use your glove to make this play, and he just barehands it. Katse does a great job helping him out on this. And as you said, Joel, Myers had a couple really close ones there at first base. I wonder what that leather's for over there.
I wonder how many times out of 10 he makes a clean pick like that
when the
ball.
Yeah, when the ball's bouncing like that, it's hit.
That's
it's
tough.
Hit or miss. Yeah, you want it hugging the ground and coming to a stop.
Betancourt grounds to Martin, who throws for the out. It was Uni last night in the 6th who tied the game with a solo home run, but now Jake Peavy has 2 quick outs here in the 7th and is still cruising. Jason Kendall, the 3rd batter of this inning. He's 0 for 2 so far on the game, flying out and striking out back in the 4th.
And Peavy doesn't look like he's lost anything.
Like you say, Paul, the good ones get tougher in situations like this, and you just have to wonder if this will be it for him, or will he just take it as far as he can take it.
Ground ball to Alexei Ramirez. 1, 2, 3 for Jake Peavy as the White Sox lead after 7, 5-4.
it's even more special because of the type of night they're playing, under the conditions they're playing. But both pitchers were throwing strikes. And when you get ahead of hitters and putting the ball in play, your defense is always ready to make the plays for you.
The conditions are not getting any better right now.
Now, Paul, like you said, it's like a little haze on the grass out there. So you know any ball that goes to the outfield rolling flat is going to gain a lot of water. And the third base coach is going to be more aggressive.
Brad Thompson now with the task of just keeping this thing where it's at. See if that Royals offense can get going again. Unlike the last couple of nights where the Royals offense got going later in the game after not having much early, they got going early tonight and have cooled down. Callaspo to throw over to Billy Butler for the first out of the inning. Replay returns with an all-new season. Two high school hockey teams from 1999 reunite 11 years later in Hockeytown. Follow the journey of Catholic Central versus Trenton. ReplayTheSeries.com. Mark Kotze, who had been struggling at the plate, broke through with a hit in the 7th inning and scored a run there. Ground ball to Unieski Betancourt for the second out of the inning. And in spite of the weather conditions tonight, 22,192 in attendance on Armed Forces Day at Kauffman Stadium. It's been fun to have all the military here and hanging in there on a cool and wet night.
We'll send them home happy with the win, though.
We're working on it. Well, we expect to have Ryan Lefevre back tomorrow with Frank, and Paul Splittorff pulling double duty up here in the booth as well as out at Rivals, so he's going to head out for the post-game show here in a little bit. Split, what do you want to talk about? The Royals come back.
The Royals come back. Offense should be confident because of what they've done over the last couple of days. Don't leave me out there and don't come out without a win, okay?
That's a lot of pressure. I mean, but
that's
okay.
A lot of pressure.
But we'll take care of that.
We're hoping you don't run out of gas.
No, and likewise. But we'll have the truck ready to start putting together some of those game-winning highlights. It haven't happened yet, but there was a lot of good early. But I suppose we'll talk a little bit more and delve into Luke Hochevar's night. We'll most likely hear from Luke Hochevar, hear from Ned Yost after the game. And hoping that we can get Nate Bucati down in the field with a Royals player that had a spectacular play late to win this one.
Yeah, right now, I'm sure Luke was thinking, okay, what happened? What could I have done differently to get out of there? They need to kind of shut the floodgates a little bit earlier. Some questions right now. They go over the chart and the tape and see exactly what happened.
Well, Alexei Ramirez is going to get a break there. Almost thought of going to second as well. Frank, whose fault was that here as Betancourt had the ball? Callaspo looks like crossed in front of him just a little bit.
Well, you got to first look at whether or not there was clear vision between Callaspo and Betancourt. And you can see the ball, when it goes up, the ball hits and kind of flattens out. And it does right off the edge of the grass. And I think that threw both guys off. And where you're expecting to get a ball on a hop and it hits the edge of that grass and just sort of flattens out. So I think it's just it's the field.
Well, it stays down. It gets a little quicker, too, doesn't it?
Well,
by staying down, hitting the edge?
It stays down and then just speeds up on him. And he was expecting to catch his ball on the backhand side on one hop. So if it misses the edge of the grass there, or the lip of the grass, then he gets the hop he's looking for. But he wasn't planning on the ball hitting that lip and flattening out on him like that. And like you said, Paul, it did pick up speed after that.
They did rule it a base hit. Can't call it error on the field. Just a bad break there for both guys, or at least certainly for Betancourt.
Yeah, I mean, anytime the ball changes directions like that, you're always at the mercy of the ball. And if you're in good fielding position, like as he was, then there's not much you can do about it when the ball does something totally different, like hitting the edge of the grass. That's like hitting the edge of the back of the grass and then coming up on you. That's just the field itself. So you see how it hits right on the edge of the grass there and just flatten out. He was expecting to miss that at left and then get a bounce, and he backhands the ball and try to make a play at first base.
Looks like he's already trying to set his feet to make the throw.
You already anticipate. You can anticipate balls like that, but you just can't anticipate it hitting the edge of the grass and flattening out. And then once he does that, even if he catches it, you saw off balance, you still don't have a play at first base.
Well, Alexi Ramirez will take it one way or another, coming into the game with a .214 batting average, and his average has now been raised to .231 with a 3-hit night. Martin, looking for his first hit of the series, did draw a walk last inning and ended up coming around to score on a Juan Pierre RBI single. Ramirez at first base, 2 outs here in the top of the 8th for Brad Thompson. Ramirez is running, and Tien swings and misses, but Ramirez will be in for the stolen base.
Doesn't help that was a changeup that was thrown by Thompson either. A little bit slower, had Tien off balance, and I think we see Kendall kind of jump at the ball a little bit.
Well, when you have to backhand that ball like that, it's all about the transition from glove to hand. You see his head never followed the glove to the bare hand. He kept focused out front, so you leave a lot of room between that backhand and that bare hand trying to get in there to get the ball.
Second stolen base of the year for Alexei Ramirez, and Brad Thompson trying to finish off Mark Tien, but Tien now has the count at full, just as he did back in the 7th inning.
And Ramirez with a huge lead off of second base.
Big moment here for the Royals, trying to keep the White Sox lead to 1. Mark Tien trying to do some damage against his former team. Jason Kendall tries to block that one and then can't get a handle. And so for the second time this game, the Royals walk a base runner and then have a runner go from second to third on a stolen base. Okay, they do give him the wild pitch on that. So no stolen base, but Ramirez goes over to third base, and now first and third, and Bob McClure is going to come out to talk to Brad Thompson.
Well, you absolutely want to slam the door right here in the bottom part of the batting order. You trail by just 1. You feel pretty good about an opportunity to get back in it. It's a crucial point in the ball game.
Tomorrow, NASCAR on Fox moves to Dover, where Jimmy Johnson looks to defend his title and make a move to the top of the NASCAR standings. Coverage of Sprint Cup Series racing from Dover International Speedway begins tomorrow at 11 a.m. in high definition here on Fox. Martin at first base, Alexei Ramirez at third base. Royals trying to minimize the damage here. Ramon Castro is right in the middle of where the White Sox are at right now as far as coming back in this game. First hit, first 2 RBIs of the year, doing the damage to bring them 1 run closer to a tie game, 4-3. Runners going, and the throw got him. Jason Kendall ends this inning as he's got Martin at second base. 5-4, White Sox on top.
Young Award winner. He knows how to get tough, but it was really imperative that the Royals really kept the deficit to 1 run. That throw out of T in the last inning there, I mean, that was huge right there. That gives the Royals a lot of hope for the next 6 outs.
It seems like Jason Kendall, when he has the time to throw, really is able to bail the Royals out of some jams and take some runners off of the base paths. When he doesn't have that time and he has to rush it, then it gets a little dicey.
Yeah, because you've seen a lot of times where he's tried to rush it and mishandle and don't get a throw off.
Scott Podsednik slaps that one to left, but Juan Pierre makes the catch.
That's it. Then that kind of night, Joel. Both, like I said, both pitchers, when you're throwing strikes, the fielders are ready to go. And Juan Pierre comes up, make a nice diving catch. You can see that he barely has his ball in his glove. But he just stretches out and makes a nice backhand catch.
Brings up Mike Aviles, who is 1 for 3 on the game with a run scored back in the first inning. He also grounded into a double play last time up in the 5th. Aviles with another multi-hit game. He was hitless last night, but 2 hits tonight and trying to get a little something going here in the 8th. Mike Aviles snapped a 5-game hitting streak last night, but has now hit in 9 of 11 games since being recalled from AAA Omaha. Brings up David DeJesus, who's 0 for 3 on the night. Part of the lineup for Ned Yost, as David DeJesus won't see too many number 3 hitters doing that. The question is David DeJesus your typical number 3 hitter, the longtime leadoff man now batting in the middle of the lineup?
Well, Joe, with no outs, you can see trying to bunt in that situation. You got 1 out right here, the man on first. You're down by a run late in the game like this. You want that hitter to try to hit a double. You want him to try to score Mike from first base on a double and change spots with him and become the winning run on base. You don't want to take a chance on trying to bunt with 1 out and don't make it, and now it's 2 outs, and you're sitting with a runner on second base.
Jake Peavy looking for the win as David DeJesus takes a strike to the crowd's dismay, and I have a feeling Fox Tracks will see what the crowd saw.
Well, David usually has a good eye, and this is well below the zone. So David did do the right thing by taking this pitch, but just didn't get the call.
Not just on the edge or just below the zone, way below the zone.
Well below the zone.
Paul Emmel, the home plate umpire tonight. DeJesus slaps the ball to the left side, foul and out of play. Jake Peavy, that was his 100th pitch of the game, and after throwing a 28-pitch first inning, you get a feel for how efficient he has been since early on.
When you can go in the 8th inning, Joel, and just coming up on 100 pitches, every manager will pat you on the back every night with that type of performance.
Just hanging around.
Now, Ned Yost is probably hoping David can pull something in that hole and create a first and third situation for his ball club.
Mike Aviles is going to get picked off of first base and going to head back to the dugout. A costly mistake there.
Well, he's going back to the outside corner of the base, and when he's off balance when he hits the bag, and he was just reaching for the bag, so that your weight is just too much to hold when you're off balance. You got to be in that position where you can just hit the top corner of that bag and spin around. But he had to actually jump at the bag, and when he hit the bag, it just threw him way off balance.
Now, no, sorry, Frank. I mean, now suddenly here you thought you had a little something going, and Mike Aviles usually one to pay attention to the details and not make a lot of mistakes, but trying to get a little something going here in the 8th, and suddenly you've got Peavy on an 0-2 count, a chance to go 1-2-3.
Well, you're right. That was a huge pickoff right there. I mean, those are mistakes you can't make late in the game.
And there it is, 1-2-3. Jake Peavy walking off with a 5-4 lead. The last 5 innings, and overall in the game, 8 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. So the line may not look dominant, but he is through 8 innings and has really picked up the pace here in the last 5.
Well, Joe, they gave us those 3 runs in the first, and the Ross Link with the home run on the third with Billy Butler. After that, he just put zeros on the board, and his offense rewarded him for it.
Kyle Farnsworth is the new pitcher for the Royals, his 13th game of the season. He's got a nice 3.14 ERA, and we've seen him, Frank, pitch in a lot of situations where there wasn't a ton on the line, but maybe a little bit more in this case, just like last inning with Brad Thompson, now needing to at least keep it close, keep it at 5-4.
1 run's a lot easier to make up than 2 or 3, so these are just like regular holes as if you had a lead right here, Joel, because now you can keep it right here. Your team got an opportunity to get 1 run, and that's a lot easier to overcome.
Is it any surprise that on a cold, chilly, can it be cold and chilly, by the way? Sure it can. On a wet, cold night that Kyle Farnsworth out there with no sleeves. He's tough. Say that much.
They're a lot warmer than we are.
Yep.
When you're in the action, you don't feel quite as cold as someone sitting in the stands watching the game because you got adrenaline going, and it's amazing how warm that keeps you, especially when you're on the mound and got the ball in every pitch.
But I'm looking out on the field right now, and everybody either has long sleeves or half sleeves, halfway down the arm. And there's Farnsworth. Gonna pop this one up, and Podsednik chasing it down in foul ground for the first out of the inning. I was reading a recent article, Frank, where players around the league voted Kyle Farnsworth as the guy they would least like to get in a fight with, I think it was, with him on the pitcher's mound. Least likely to get into a brawl. Then he knows he's a black belt in karate or taekwondo or something like this. I mean, that's certainly believable. You don't want to mess with that.
Well, even if you don't know all of that, his size, those glasses, he just looks scary.
Kind of maniacal. And he throws hard.
And he doesn't talk much.
And he doesn't talk much.
And that's the telltale sign there. Those quiet ones you got to look out for.
Well, but Frank, at least he's always talking with his teammate. No, he's not. He's usually sitting there listening to music. Juan Pierre is 2 for 4 on the night. Also has his 4th RBI of the year. And that was an RBI that tied the game at 4. He's a stolen base in the game, his American League leading 18th.
He also made that great diving play on Pasudnik.
He's got this one up in the air, and 3 Royals converge. It's Unieski Betancourt with the catch. Bobby Jenks, the White Sox closer, is starting to loosen up out in the White Sox bullpen. Expect to see him, I think, Frank, right, in the 9th inning. I don't think that Ozzie will send Jake Peavy out there, although it's possible.
Jake Peavy's done an outstanding job tonight, and it wouldn't surprise me if he sent him back out there, and it wouldn't surprise me if Bobby Jenks came in the game. Both guys are very capable.
Peavy's got 102 pitches, so it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. And as we mentioned, he has been cruising along. That pitch at 99 miles an hour. Now, you didn't believe necessarily 98 on the radar gun with Luke Hochevar. Are you believing 99 here?
I believe 99 here, yes.
I thought that one was going to hit triple digits. Well, there's Peavy. It's tough to tell. I mean, he's such an intense guy. He's got that locked-in look right now. Is he coming back or no? That ball squirts over to the right side. Butler handles over to Farnsworth for the out. Nice 1-2-3 inning for Kyle Farnsworth. Royals coming up to the bottom of the 9th. Third inning as Billy going deep for his 4th home run of the season. That made it 4-1, and the Royals certainly right now could use another play of the game from Billy. A home run here would tie it as Jake Peavy still in the game. Going to try to finish this one out, Frank.
Well, that doesn't really surprise me, Joel. I mean, Peavy's from the old school. You know, it's his game. The pitch count matches where he's at. He probably feels strong because of the weather. And Ozzie has as much confidence in Jake Peavy as Jake Peavy has in himself.
Boy, how often do you see as Peavy quickly ahead 0-2, a guy that has a 28-pitch first inning, and here he is in the 9th looking for a complete game, his first complete game of the year. Jake Peavy working quick, and Billy Butler stays alive. Royals scored 3 back in the first. White Sox scored one in the second. Royals added one on the Butler home run. It was 4-1, and then a 4-run seventh inning for Chicago to storm back and take a 5-4 lead. That pitch at 94 miles an hour upstairs.
I have to think that Peavy's like he may be on one of those hitter by hitter thing. If he gets the outs, he stays in. If he doesn't, Bobby Jenks comes in.
Now Billy Butler right up the middle with the single, and then we're gonna, I assume, see somebody come out right away, and we will, as Chris Getz is gonna pinch run for Billy Butler.
Well, Jake Peavy leaves a pitch up out over the plate, and Billy just fires it right back through the middle, just past Peavy's glove for a base hit in the center field.
Billy's night is over, a 2-for-3 night with a run and an RBI, a home run. He has done his job, and Chris Getz, who hasn't seen a lot of playing time lately, the logical choice to come in with the speed that he has.
Well, Joel, he can score on a double, he can steal a base, he can go first or third. A lot of pluses when you have speed.
First pitch strike there to Jose Guillen. Too much to ask for a home run?
Nope. I think we can all live with that.
Yeah. Maybe not Jake Peavy, but let's worry about us.
Well, you can see that fastball come back on the outside corner. I mean, he has a lot of movement on this fastball, Joel. So you're talking about, look at that ball just take off. I mean, that is some kind of pitch this late in the game.
That ball starting just outside of Fox Tracks of the box and going right into the edge of it. Let's take our final look at our sprint, you call it, and final numbers on favorite branch of the service. Army edging out Navy, and then we've got the Air Force and the Marines. Thanks to all for playing along and voting, and thanks to all the members of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and every branch of our military that does such an amazing job protecting this country. Jose Guillen down 0-2. Chris Getz over at first base as the pinch runner for Billy Butler. And Jake Peavy does need to keep his eye at least over on first base.
Well, he does a great job of controlling the running game. He's not afraid to catch those base runners when they're in mid-step trying to take their lead. He has good timing for when he wants to pick off at first base.
First appearance for Chris Getz of this series. Pinch hit in the ninth inning Tuesday night, grounded into a force out to end that game. So not a lot of playing time for Getz, as Mike Aviles has been playing well. Yuniesky Betancourt has been hitting enough to stay in there, and we've seen some good defense from him as well. Jose swings and misses, and Jake Peavy gets the first out of the inning.
Well, I think the Raws overall have to be happy with the play of Yuniesky Betancourt, and not only defensively, but his bat has been there. And really the only weakness has probably been when he hits with men in scoring position. Just a little impatience there in that situation.
I was about to say Jake Peavy's not going to be happy with Ozzie Guillen coming out to the mound. Is he coming out? Yes, he is. Jake Peavy is done. He wanted to finish this game. Lefty Matt Thornton is coming in to the game. That's our Chevy call to the pen. It's 5-4 here in the ninth. Cayaspo batting from the right side, and the lefty Matt Thornton in, and you see the left-handed swinging Mitch Meyer on deck, and we'll see if Ned Yost, if the situation presents itself, were to go to perhaps Willie Bloomquist or the switch-hitting Brian Pena. Alberto did the damage in the first inning, really most of the damage that Jake Peavy had in this game, as the Royals bats have cooled off a little bit as the game has gone on.
Well, that was a big 3-run double to get things going for the Royals, and against a tough pitcher like Jake Peavy.
Cayaspo to Martin. He's going to throw over to second base in the dirt. Does get the force out. Cayaspo will be safe on the fielder's choice at first, but the second out as Chris Getz taken off the base paths, and there are now 2 outs in the 9th inning.
That's one of those throws when you're a second baseman, you get from your third baseman and it bounces in the dirt and the runner's all over you. And you say, hey, give me a ball I can handle so I can get out of the way.
Well, Mitch Meyer will get the bat against the lefty Matt Thornton. Now, we should point out that Mitch oftentimes does well against lefties as opposed to righties.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Ned Yost has looked at some percentage to make this decision, but you know, Mitch is a fastball hitter. Thornton's a fastball pitcher. He does a good slider.
Mitch coming into the game batting .250 against lefties, .255 against righties, so been fairly evenly split this year. Mitch taking the 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Royals down to their final out, looking for their first 3-game winning streak of the season, but Matt Thornton and the Chicago White Sox trying for their 15th win overall in the year. White Sox 14-21, Royals 13-23.
Yeah, Mitch has faced Thornton one time and has got he's 1 for 4 with 1 walk.
And that one in at 96 miles an hour, and Matt Thornton, not Bobby Jenks, but Matt Thornton with a couple of lefties here, or at least a switch hitter, and then the lefty, the chance to close out this game for Ozzie Guillen, Jake Peavy, and the Chicago White Sox. Which stays alive on another 97-mile-an-hour fastball.
Well, what Thornton is tough, Joel, is when he gets that ball down to left-handers and to the extension side, which is toward the outside part of the plate. That kind of forces him to reach a little bit. He keeps the ball up. Mitch is a lot better up against left-handers, and he's more down against right-handers.
Check over at first base. Alberto Cayaspo not going anywhere. Still going to try to keep him close. You know, a Mitch Meyer hit down the line could make things a little bit interesting. Mitch lays off at 2-2.
Well, that's a good job laying off that pitch there. Yeah, Thornton throws so hard that you want to try to get things generated, but see, he's been to the outer half of the plate to Mitch the entire time and wants to keep it down. That would be the preferred spot.
Now we've got a little meeting on the mound because Matt Thornton is holding on to his elbow. Ozzie Guillen coming out with the White Sox trainer, and might see Bobby Jenks after all in this one.
Ozzie's probably hoping he can get 1 more or 2 more pitches out of it right now. That was pretty interesting right there, the way he was grabbing his elbow. Normally you don't take a chance on that, but obviously it must have been a twinge, and they just want him to throw it and see how it feels.
You also normally don't see a guy grabbing onto his elbow, potentially getting pulled out of the game with 2 outs, 2-2 count in the 9th, and laughing about it.
That'd be interesting to hear what Ozzie said to him in that situation.
Now, knowing Ozzie the way we do, that's Matt Thornton, and you could see Paul Emel with almost a half smile, too. Ozzie said something entertaining in this key situation here.
He said, can you give me one more pitch?
And I'm sure he said it just like that. Now back to the action, 2-2 count. And Meyer pops this one up. Gordon Beckham going to call for it. And the White Sox have won it. 5-4 is the final as they split this series 1 game apiece with 1 more to play tomorrow. White Sox win it 5-4 here at Kauffman Stadium. Frank White is back after this to break it down.